Today we are still in the chordates. We have already looked at the transition from the development of the backbone, the transition from water, the oceans, to the land. Last week we did the bony fish, osteichthyes, and we did amphibians. But amphibians are dual life, amphibian, and they're still tied to the water. This week, we are seeing a group that broke from that tie to the water. So reptiles and a subclade of reptiles called birds, which phylogenetically are still reptiles, but taxonomically, as we can see, are still not reorganized into a subclass of Reptilia. They are their own class of these. And we heard all about that in the lecture from Dr. DeHaan. So this time we are going to look at reptiles and a subclass of reptiles, the birds. Now they had to make a break from the water, and they did that during Pangea. Pangea is when all of the continents came together in this huge supercontinent, and on the inside of that, the rain clouds didn't get in there. So it was really dry and temperate in there. So they had to actually make a break from the water. What new derived character of the reptiles, or the ancestors of the reptiles and mammals, allowed them to make that break? What is that super important new derived character on this lineage? You read about it.
Feathers.
Pardon?
Feathers.
Feathers for the birds allowed flight. What allowed a break from the water? No longer amphibian.
Is it the amniotic egg?
It's the amniotic egg, right? Absolutely. So they're able to lay an egg that has everything in it. They took the pond with them. Rather than being tied to the water, they took an environment with them that allowed them to break from the water. So reptiles lay these leathery eggs, and birds lay a calcified shelled egg, but both of them lay an egg that has nutrients, has waste production, has everything that they need in order to develop. Class Reptilia is ectothermic. That means that they get their temperature from their environment. They are whatever temperature their environment happens to be. This saves them energy relative to the birds and the mammals, both of which are homeothermic. Or endothermic. We keep our temperature higher. That allows us to be more active, but require more energy. That means we require more nutriment in order to continue to keep our temperature higher. Because our ancestor with the birds was ectothermic, that would mean that endothermic, just like four-chambered hearts, evolved independently on each lineage, being an analogous characteristic rather than a homologous characteristic. Other interesting factors of the reptiles include their early diversification, their dominance until the meteor hit 65 million years ago, according to scientists. And then after that, it opened up the development of and radiation of the only dinosaurs that survived, which were the birds. By that time, some dinosaurs already had feathers. They were using them as insulation. Those feathers developed further to be used for flight, and there were more adaptations in the birds. We see more adaptations, and we'll look at it today. Those adaptations include hollow bone structure, inability to move the eyes, so they lost the musculature there in order to reduce weight, loss of teeth, and then therefore the requirement of a crop and a gizzard rather than teeth and a stomach, and a few other modifications. Now the birds still contain some of the ancestral characters, like the scales on the legs, so we can see that they have the same scales as the reptiles, and the feathers are modified scales. Next week we'll be on to mammals, which also are thought to have evolved out of a tetrapod population that the reptiles evolved out of. So mammals didn't evolve from reptiles, mammals evolved from a population of synapsid tetrapods that existed post or pre-Pangea. All right, what are we going to do today? Today we are going to dissect a turtle in the reptiles and a snake in the reptiles. In the birds, we're going to dissect a pigeon, and then also Steve has brought us one of his laying chickens from his farm, and we are going to study the GI tract of that chicken, and then also the urogenital tract, and look how egg production occurs. Not only that, we also have some small chicks here, and you can decide which one you want to dissect. And if that makes you feel bad, you should ask yourself, why do you feel bad about dissecting a chick, but it's okay to eat chickens? And to be clear, we're not going to dissect these chicks. It makes me feel bad too. But why? We should ask ourselves that. All right, should be fun today. Lots to learn, lots to go over. Last week, we spent a lot of time really thinking about the musculature and the internal organs and things of amphibians. Let's compare and contrast that to the reptiles and to the birds. Have fun.